Hello guys, here's Charlie Austen for New York Movie Buff, and today I'm here to do my comments on the third episode from the final season of Game of Thrones, The Long Night, and we just have so much to talk about. This episode. So many things went down in this particular episode, but before that, let's roll the intro. So before jumping right onto this theme of this video, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, the like button. Please help me to keep creating this content, to keep bettering this type of content that I always post here on my channel. So all of us, we can share our passion for filmmaking, for movies, TV shows, series, and all of that that makes our heart to beat a little bit faster every single time, okay? Okay, so it happened, guys. We had a 1 hour and 20-minute episode last Sunday, The Long Night. It was the most weighted episode from the show history. And finally, we got to see what this Great War was all about. And I just have so many things to talk about when it comes to this episode, about the things that really work in the episode, along the things that were kind of devious. I don't know, like, on what side I really am when it comes to these particular things that I'm gonna address in this review. And also the things that didn't work at all. There are things that were missed opportunities to produce such an amazing audiovisual content when it comes to wrapping up like this main plot. It is really linked to the main plot of the whole series, because we could have seen, if that was the way that they chose to go, we could have seen the Night King actually sitting on the Iron Throne. He could have been the most powerful contester in Westeros. Maybe in the end, if that was the choice, that they would have taken it further. That's clearly not the case here. But probably he wouldn't be sitting literally on the Iron Throne, because that doesn't mean anything to him. But if he would have been the last one, like all of our beloved characters would have been dead by the end of the last episode of this final season, and we would see the Night King as the contester that won. So in a symbolical sense, he would have been the one that won the battle for the Iron Throne without him even knowing it, right? Although if they would have taken this path, like this kind of decision to follow through into the end of the series, I think that they would have chosen to show us him actually recognizing, oh, that's what was important for the living. So that was the thing that they were battling for, and then I came along and I defeated them all. So it must be worthy. So it's worthy of me of going there and sitting on that throne. And that would have been a very dope shot to see. Imagine if the final scene of the TV show would be the Night King sitting on the Iron Throne. A thing that we would suppose that he was not even fighting for. It was not even a real quest for him, right? And that would have been very interesting, because someone that is not interested in that particular fight, in that particular battle, is the one that ends up winning it and seeing it, and reaping the reward and sitting on it. So for me, that would have been really dope. Although George R. Martin said that the main things in the main plot, like in the TV show, will follow exactly what's going to happen in the final 2 books of the literary franchise, A Song of Ice and Fire. So we can be sure that, and I don't know why I'm saying, why I'm talking about that, but because I lost my reasoning here. But what I was saying is okay, I remember what I wanted to say. So and he said that both in the TV show and in his books, the end is gonna be a bittersweet one. So I don't think that this particular end that I envisioned for the TV show, if they had the balls, if they had the guts to go with it, that would be, like I said all along up to this point in the review, the Night King sitting on the Iron Throne. I don't think how that would be a bittersweet ending. It would be a total disaster for the living and for the living viewers as well. Although I don't know, maybe he could reveal himself as a much better governor, as a much better king than any previously contesters, like human contesters. And if you would, if it would have been given to us the opportunity to understand that the real concerns, the real motivations, like the Night King's real motivations, we might have sided with him and despised the living, right? So I don't know, but here up to this point, I'm just talking about possibilities. What I had envisioned for the show that didn't really come through. It didn't crystallize as the path that they chose to lead the next final 3 episodes of this season and of the entire show. But I would have enjoyed seeing this kind of courage that I think that is missing a little bit for a while in Game of Thrones. Although I really enjoyed, if you watched my past 2 reviews about the first 2 episodes of this season, I really enjoyed the reconnections and the meetings that these important characters had, and like Brienne of Tarth being knighted, finally gaining what she strived all along, although she knew that it was a lost cause, because no woman can become a knight in Westeros, and that was defied in that episode. Like, tradition sometimes sucks, but that's what I envision. So okay, getting out of the way, like putting out of the way how I saw the path for the end of the series that didn't really crystallize. So let's talk about the episode. So I'm going to divide this review like in a few parts, in a few sections. Let's talk about the photography or the aesthetics of this episode. And I think that is a very dubious thing to talk about, because I don't think that the real problem here was with the photography or with the concept, with the vision that the PG came with for this episode. I don't think that none of it is the real problem. And I think that it's really hard to talk about if it was an issue, the photography here, because we couldn't see it. And when I'm saying it, I'm not saying it because it was all dark, because I think that it's part of the photography. So I think that the problem was with the streaming platform, like HBO's streaming platform, and also even on the regular channel, like on your TV. So for people that were watching not through HBO's streaming, HBO streaming app, HBO Go or HBO LA for Latin America, or all the other streaming apps that HBO has put out there for its viewers. So for the viewers that they were watching through the regular way, through the television, so they would tune in at 9 p.m. So it was all pixels, basically. It was all pixels all over the screen, so it was all like it was unbearable. And for the people trying to get onto the stream to start playing the episode, they didn't get to this part of having to deal with that pixelish kind of picture, kind of shot or kind of a reproduction, because the real problem there was with signing into the app. So for example, normally I enjoy watching through the app, so I'm trying to log into the app, and it took me more than 40 minutes. So it was just loading and loading and loading, and I couldn't get through. And by the time that I got through, and now I could see the button to play the episode, and I pushed the button. So more problems with streaming. It was like non-stop loading. So it took me like more than 45 minutes to access the material. And then there was something else. The streaming was very low, and it's not because of my data package or whatever it is. I have a good internet package, so it was like a problem from the platform. So I would watch a few minutes, and then it would break down, and sometimes the quality like was dumbed down because of HBO. So here we have two problems. We have a problem of a streaming platform. For the viewers that watch it through the television, a problem with reproduction. So I don't know what really happened, but it's kind of concerning to me, and because it really spoiled, it really destroyed for most of us, for so many of us, the experience and the build up of expectation to this episode. So you want to watch this episode in the bestest way possible. So you sign up for HBO, whether through your TV bundle or through the HBO app. So you know that HBO can deliver, and they have the money. Because by the way, they are spending more than 15 million bucks for each one of these episodes, and I think that this third episode they spend even over 15 million. So I don't know if it's a problem of money management. But like they can do so well with the production of these episodes and like other TV shows like Westworld and so forth. So are they not investing enough? So they're kind of concerned with the content, with the content quality, but they're not as much concerned with the quality of the medium that will provide the way for its users, for its consumers to get to that high quality content. I think that that's my question, because for me, it doesn't click. Like, we know that they are producing good stuff, but they're not giving us the best way to access that good stuff, and it really spoils the whole experience. So I saw many people talking about the filmography, the photography of the episode, but I don't think that the photography is a real problem. I think that here was a problem of streaming platform of HBO, like covering like its ass when it comes to, oh, let's do it right, let's provide a very like good high quality content, like when it comes to the production of the episode, but they didn't even bat an eye to how they would make that content available. And I think that that was a real no-brainer for me. So I think that we are talking about different things, or we should be talking about different things. I think that what really spoiled the experience here was HBO's lack of a good structure, or keeping that structure functioning the minimum so that viewers could access the episode. Now, with this out of the way, let's talk a little bit, because it's important to get engaged with the emotional moments of the episode and what was really transpiring through the episode. So now let's talk about the filmography. So there is here a very high concept, and I think that the PD, he gave an interview a few days after this episode, kind of defending his choice of lighting, or the lack of it, because the episode was really dark. First, it's going to be dark because it was shot at night during, 55 nights from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning. So it's going naturally. It's a battle during the night. So there are things that will get out of focus. There are other things that we're gonna be jammed with some other aspects or props in the background. So okay, so we can also take this out of the way. But here there is a real concept that I think that really goes well along with what this battle means for the story and means for the show and means for this saga. That is the battle between, I wouldn't say so much the battle between good and evil, because we don't know what were the real intentions of the Night King. We were always presented they always presented the Night King as being this evil kind of guy, and we readily accept that he's evil because we are on the side of the living. We are living people watching fictional living characters of fictional living people trying to defend themselves and try to survive and to get through this. So of course we're gonna side with the type of characters that resemble the most with us. They are human like us, so it's very easy to get emotionally engaged with these characters and dismiss the other one as being the bad one because he doesn't talk. He walks in a robotic way. We're seeing him through the lenses that dictate to us that he's evil, that he's bad, and we were shown like chunks of his history. They are trying to convince us of this narrative that he's bad, but we don't know. I really don't know if this fight was really between good and evil because of the aforementioned reasons that I just gave you now. So I think there was more a battle between light and dark, light and darkness, not good and evil. Unless that it's proven otherwise. We still have like 3 episodes left. So I think that, and it gets even more like this idea of a battle between light and dark gets even more overwhelmingly convincing when you see the part that the God of Light, the Melisandre's God of Light played in this episode. So I think that when we take all of this into account, so it's good to really seeing the dark gets overwhelmingly like I can say overwhelmingly present on the screen to the point that sometimes you can see things, because then you can feel that darkness that comes with the whites, that comes with the White Walkers is a real thing. You can feel the tension. You can buy the idea that this army of the dead, they're really powerful and they're not going to stop. So with all of this, we can understand that why he chose to make things really dark in this episode, and now so it's not only an unstoppable kind of a force, but we need to understand it also gives us the feels or how our beloved characters are reacting to that kind of entrepreneurship when it comes to like Night King's entrepreneurship of taking over the land of the living. Like most of them have never seen a white, like they have never been into a fight against the dead, against the Night King. So they just have in their mind the worldview that was construed by the legends and by gossip and by what Jon Snow told them. So even though there is a huge lack of like enough information for them to understand how unstoppable, how almost non-beatable this army is. So they don't know how to deal. They just have what they heard or what they got to know about these guys. So I really liked when at times during the battle, and it was a long battle, our beloved characters would kind of like fusion would kind of mingle with that like overwhelmingly huge body, the column of bodies just falling over them, or they kind of would mingle with the other human fighters, because it really conveys that for us they can be beloved. We understand like where they are coming from, but there in the battleground, they're just one more They're just one more number that all of them working together. They are trying to accomplish something together. So I really enjoyed. So I don't see any problem. Any problem with the PG's vision of photography for this episode. And we see that it was really thought through, because at sometimes, like using Melisandre and the character so well to help us to see what needs to be seen. So she goes and she lights up the like the Dothraki swords or blades or whatever. I don't know the specific name to the swords. Or we have the trenches, and she goes there and she lights up the trenches, and then we can see better. So it was well thought through. So we can see people like me that we like filmmaking, and we are trying to get into this world each day passing by, so we can see. So there were times that purposefully they didn't want us to see, because it was not paramount to the development of the story at that moment for us to see what was happening. It was more paramount to the development of the story at that point for us to feel the story and feel what that represents, and the uncertainty to have these feelings conveyed. And then when was the moment to convey things through the pictorial, through the image? So they would use these means like Melisandre torching up things, lighting up stuff. So I don't think that the problem was with the lighting or the lack of it, or how it was poured, it was embedded in the concept that the PG, and when I'm talking about the PG, I'm talking the photography director, into the production, into the way that things were shot. I think that what really made the PG the scapegoat in this ghost story was HBO's issues with its streaming and with the reproduction of it on television. So people very rapidly all went for the PG and started like to blame him, and it was a conduction, it was a mix of things. So what I can give up for is the idea that at some point maybe it was overused, this lack of lighting for most of the episode. Maybe it should have been overly used by the PG. Yes, I can get my mind around with that. I think that it's a valid complaint. So maybe he could have made his point, but not overly use it, because at the end of the day, viewers, they are not professionals from the field. So from a professional from the field, it might be overwhelmingly beautiful, the concept being so well explored and taking it to its maximum stretch. But for viewers that they are lay viewers when it comes to how these things are done in filmmaking. So I think that was a bit too much. But I think that what was decisively was the thing that was the decisive one for people trying to shift the blame and only to place the blame on the PG was because there was a misunderstanding about that if things were already dark and things were shot already in a dark setting, these things get even darker with the issues that came because of HBO's issues with its streaming and with the way that it was played on TV. So I think that the concept was valid. Was misused or overly used? Maybe. I think that I'll leave it at that, or I leave that for you to decide as a viewer. But saying that it was entirely like the PG's fault, I think that is a misrepresentation of what really went down in the showing of this episode last Sunday. And that's why normally I watch the episode and like a few hours later I post my review about the episode. But like I decided like not doing that right away after this third episode, because here there was a matter not just about commenting the things, how the story how the story unfolded, and how all the things that filmmaking has to offer help to build this story, but there was also this technical side of it. And I was also very shooketh with how things were solved, or these plot twists that happened, that came along the way. So I really wanted to take the time to digest all of that in the bestest way possible as well. And like I said in previous reviews, I don't have this urge to always be the first YouTuber or influencer or whatever, like we are called these days, to post my videos on a specific art piece, because I think that we are living in a society, and I'm diverting a little bit from the review of the episode here now, but we are living in a society where everything has to be so fast and everything happens so out of sudden, you know, at the drop of a hat. And we don't take the time sometimes. We don't take the time to really take things in and understanding the meaning of them, and what they really are substantiating, and what are they really meaning for the future of a specific thing, like a TV show like that we engaged. We spent so much time in the past 8-9 years. So I really wanted to take this time and to organize my thoughts better, and that's why I'm just posting this review now, early Saturday or something like that. Okay, so so when it comes to the aesthetics, to the photography, so there is a purposeful lack of lighting. It contributed to building the tension, that setting of uncertainty, of misleading expectations. And we see a misleading expectation here, talking about piece by piece of what happened in the episode. There is like this misleading conceptions or expectations when they send the Dothraki as the front of the army. So they are the ones that go first because they are ravenous, right? They are really violent, and they're really such good like horse riders, and they can surf on horses' backs. We saw that in the past season, and they're really good fighters, and they are relentless, right? It's like in the battlefield. So I think that this, I saw many people complaining about that, and I think that this complaint is not substantiated when it comes to understand the large scheme of things. Like I said, this is a misconception not of the executive producers. This is a misconception of expectation of what they were about to face when it comes to the characters themselves, to the characters that we saw them on their round table in the second episode, I think, of this season, discussing how they would like prepare the flanks, where each flank would stay, what would be the purpose of each one of the flanks. So I think that they thought, I know that they were expecting a large number of that now. I don't think that all the dead were there beyond the wall in that episode when Daenerys came flying with Drogon and with the other two dragons, and she saved Jon, or you know, but they knew that was the battle, that was the war of their lives, like a war made up of just one battle, right? Because it had a beginning and an end in the same episode. But like, I think that even though, I think that even Jon, that he has fought more than once against the Whites, I think that what is at like, they know that what is at stake here is huge for the humans living, for humankind in Westeros, and even to Essos, right? Because if he would have conquered the entire continent, the entire Westeros. Like with a dragon, he could fly to Essos, like right, like the Night King could fly into Essos, could raise all the dead from there, and then both continents would be overtaken by the White Walkers. So we know that what is at stake here is really a huge thing. So I'm not saying that the characters didn't have this concept, but I think that the misconception here of sending the Dothraki first is that, for example, when you just think about the dead, right? Let's just think about the dead. So we just link all the pros that they have, and that we consider them as a whole, as a particular thing, aside from making comparisons. And I think that that's what happened. So sending the Dothraki in is not because they didn't take to heart how much of a wasteful tactic that was. It was because when they considered like the Dothraki alone, but the Dothraki is good fighters. They can surf on the back of horses, they are relentlessly. They will not stop. They are what we have at best, like as an unstoppable force that will make a good front, that will make a good face off, like a good showdown against the dead. I think that was their idea, and I think that that's where the misconception came from. So I saw many people complaining about the Dothraki going in first. But I think that when you compare these both forces on themselves, on their own merits, without making the comparison or the force off or the standoff mentally, it seems like the reasonable thing to do. So, but that's where they fail, because they are thinking creatures, like the humans, like the characters of the show, and this force is not thinking anymore. They're dead. So like they don't have any sense of self-preservation, any sense of community, any sense they are just mindless, brainless creatures going forth towards something, and there is some magical kind of power moving them forward. That is the powers that come from the Night King, and we saw that when he brought that tempest, that storm against Daenerys' dragon, and the dragon that Jon Snow was hopping on. So I think that was the point. That was, and I think that there is also a sense here of sending the Dothraki first. Like, okay, the Dothraki is the most like relentless kind of fighters that we have. Let's see if they can hold on the advancement of the Night King army. Let's see what the Dothraki can accomplish. Maybe just sending what we have best at first and the most powerful at first. We can sense even more for the ones that have never dealt with the Night King and with the army of the dead before, so they can sense, they can have a visual, like a visual of what they might be facing in, and how much of an effort they will have to put into the battle to have some kind, or to a certain extent, some kind of success or of reward when it comes to results. So when the Dothraki goes and all the flames start to go off, so like all at once, almost at the same time, so it shows them that not even what they have as their best part of the army is gonna be enough to face that threat. So they knew that they were already in disadvantage, but now it's not even more a point of being in disadvantage or not. In a sense, it's not just an unavoidable kind of battle, but it's a battle that it's everything against them. All the odds are against them. Like, what is the natural thing to expect? That they already lost. It's just a matter of time. And the progression of the episode leads us to this conclusion. More and more, when some big characters start to dying off or killed in battle, and in that moment when the Night King really comes to the God's Wood, so we say, okay, that's reality. So I think that it was nice, the beginning of the whole setup for the battle for the next 1 hour and 20 minutes, how they did with the Dothraki. So I didn't think this, I didn't see it as a problem. And it's beautiful, you know, when all the lights, like the flames, go off. That's a very good use of a lack of lighting in the filming of a shot, because here darkness became a character itself in that scene, right? Because we see the darkness enveloping the flames and taking them, you know, taking over them, and the flames extinguishing. And it's a very surreal, and it's a very good reminder, as if like hope, you know, went off. So like that flame, those flames represented hope, and hope is off. Hope has gone away. Hope was killed, and we didn't even begin to face these guys off. So I think that was a good use. I'm not saying that darkness in this episode was well used most of the time. So there are certain times that I think that it didn't really serve its purpose or why it was there, but that specific moment was really beautiful. And then we have Melisandre coming back, and I think that it's interesting that Melisandre is one of the few characters that she can just like that goes off as she goes away without explanation, without any explanation, and she can return so seamlessly into the plot, and we accept it because she's kind of a witch, and she's like. And she's like I say, like this mysticity, this mythical thing that surrounds her. So I think that aligns so well with the character. So we believe that she can pop up like whenever and wherever she wants to be at, and we're gonna buy into that. And it would make sense that she would come back to Westeros now, because she said in previous seasons that she had to come back and she would die off in Westeros. So it's nice. I saw some people questioning that she came right from the direction where the dead were coming, but I think that, you know, this kind of break of angle, we call it as break of angle, because she should have been coming from the back of Winterfell, right? I think that here is not a major issue. I think that it has more to do with aesthetics. It's beautiful seeing her, a representation of the God of Light, coming through the darkness, coming from the darkness, and her presence is a representation of a light will be with you. The Lord of Light will provide the means, and he really provided it with that first scene when she lights up all the swords, all the blades, and then later with the trenches. So I think that aesthetically, I think that visually, that was very powerful. So these two things in the setup for the battle, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed them, like Melisandre coming and playing her part in the Great War, and also the Dothraki going up against the unseeable army of Veri at that point in the story. So it was really remarkable. So we talked about aesthetics, and we talk about the two major components for the setup of the battle here. So now let's talk about and I'll leave the best for the end. I'll leave the part when it comes to here major spoilers to the death of the Night, to the death of the Night King, to the final part of the episode. So let's talk now about I talked about aesthetics, and I talked about the setup. Let's talk now about some things in between. in between the episode and the death. So let's talk about the level of threat here to our most beloved characters like Jamie, Brienne, Podrick, and Gendry. So I see many people complaining about that there were some times that they were surmounted by the dead that they should have been killed. And and I think that I don't know if I really go along with this way of viewing things, and I'm not saying that because I have in mind I heard of people saying, other people say, oh okay, they had to save like the A characters, because now that we know that the Night King is dead and he was killed in this episode, we still have like 3 episodes to be played out. So if they would kill all the main characters now, what would be left to be resolved, or to have like the rest of the stories unfolding in the following 3 episodes. So I'm not yet there yet, but I think that they did a really great job at showing us that high level of threat. So sometimes I think that there is a difference. I think that people think that in order for the threat, like on TV, when you're watching something that is posing a real risk to the lives of the characters, that we develop that connection with them. In order for that threat to be really threatening, I'd say, to be really something that you can relate to, like in order for the risk to be so high, so that they have to be killed, like it equals the same as being killed, or being like clearly very damaged, or like very like mostly wounded. And I think that this is also a misconception. I think that the way that they chose to shoot some of these scenes, when some of our beloved characters, so Brienne, like at the beginning of the battle, she's stopped, like she's completely toppled by like this huge flow of dads, that's good, of that coming over her. I think that for me, that's a real good representation of like a high risk, a very high level kind of threat. So, but it doesn't need to equal as being rarely or immediately killed. And that's why it didn't bother me, because sometimes we watch we have watched so many battles before, I don't know, Band of Brothers or The Lord of the Rings, or I don't know. So we start thinking that we are really like real experts when it comes to what are the odds of someone being shot, or someone being pierced, or someone being wounded by swords, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, based on what we learned through television. And I think that this is a no-brainer. I know there are some conventional things like that have been established through watching this kind of genre, and you expect that these conventional things to be respected unless they are broken off at certain point before the battle ensues. But I don't know. I think that here they really respected how it goes, or how it should go. We see them being surmounted. We see them being on a very tight spot against the whites, but it doesn't need to equal. And I'm not saying that because it doesn't need to equal that it won't equal, because some won't equal that, because some characters, they are B characters. In reality, they are B characters, but that we take them as A characters, like Lyanna Mormont. They had a very shocking death, and a death that is not only shocking, but is what would be expected by the way that she was hit. So she was hit by the giant. The giant comes breaking in through the doors of Winterfell, and she's very violently hit, and we see that when she gets up from the ground, she's very wounded, like her spine maybe is very damaged, and she just manages to run to the giant, and then she also has a very heroic death. So, and I think that they gave her this heroic death is not because she's a character, but they understand that for the viewers, she has been viewed for a while, since the end of the 6th season, as a character. So she was kind of upgraded. So I think that the thing is, although on paper she might be taken as a B character, she doesn't have that much of importance. The story hasn't given her that much of importance as it was given to Jon's plot line or Daenerys' plot line, but she earned it. And so for me, she became a character, and she had a character type of death. So all of these issues, I think there are people trying to see something where those things might not be. It's just like they're just nitpicking things for the sake of whether being just complainers or because they're real hardcore fans. And I don't know, at certain point they start to think that D&D, that's how we call the executive producers of the show, they start to think that D&D have a straight away connection to what them as viewers and as fans of the shows and of the books are thinking, that's how this character should go about. And then when it doesn't crystallize on the TV, they get really frustrated, and then everything is not good. Everything is something to be complained about. So we get into that nitpicking kind of vibe. But I don't think, I think that the episode really followed its course as it should. Like I said, there were moments that like a no-brainer should have been shown. There is a moment right when Jon, is pursuing the Night King, like the final moments of the episode, and he goes through the gates of Winterfell, and he sees all of his folks, Jaime and Brienne and even Sam, trying to make it alive from there, and we see Sam. And we see Sam, and Sam, he's just crying, like on top of a pile of dead, and there are other dads around him, and no one is coming for him. It's like they kind of, went over saying, because he's crying, he might be a white as well. So I think that's a no-brainer thing. That's a thing that should be questioned, and I don't see anyone in the other reviews questioning that. So, okay, they were trying to really emulate Sam's emotions, to really pick something with us, and we feel how he's really deranged and how he's really affected by the war and by his inability to really be a good fighter. But it doesn't go well with the setting. No one keeps like the vibes that I got from that scene is like he just gave up. He just gave up, he's crying. If a white comes over him and bites him, it's done. So I think that's a type of a no-brainer thing that doesn't go like that's okay. If you stopped, if you gave up, and you're gonna be there crying, so show me that person being killed, because there's no way that the person is gonna be killed. Is not gonna be killed, cry, making that lousy noise. And the whites won't notice that. So I think that's the kind of thing that should be questioned. Or like when Jon, there are two different scenes, one after the other. They're kind of framed together in the same chunk, in the same sequence. That he's already like in Winterfell, inside of Winterfell, and we see the blue-eyed giant Viserion as a white dragon, kind of a dragon, just speaking fire. And we see two scenes that they are very similar to one another, and I don't know what they accomplish, what I understood, but this is the thing, this is not really explicit, and this is the kind of thing that should be explicit when you are dealing with special effects and CGI, and it's a dragon. So you need to show a dragon because it's already a lot of money to produce one. So you need to show a dragon in a moment that is relevant to the story, and that is gonna add something, and that is gonna be very explicit to the viewer. The viewer won't have a doubt, because what's the point of showing a dragon doing something if you can understand what he's actually doing? So it was not really explicit, and the way that they collaged the scenes, I don't think that it really worked. So there are two similar scenes. So John runs into the open field, and the dragon spits fire, and then he hides. He hides like behind a wall, and then he goes again and he hides again. I don't know. So I had to fill in there with what might have been happening. I think that what was happening was the dragon was in between where John was at and the entrance to the God's Wood, and that's what John was trying to break through. So pass through the dragon, pass around the dragon, and get to the God's Wood. But this is implicit, and the way that they put these two scenes together, I don't know. I don't think that it really worked. So it was strange. It was a strange thing to look at, to watch at. But these are the type of things that really didn't produce the best kind of emotions or reactions from my part. And also we have when the storm comes over the two dragons and they are flying. So we see that, okay, we understand that there's something in the story that justifies such a thing, because the White Walkers, they bring, it has been established before in the show, they bring the winter, they bring the tempest, the storm, or whatever it is. But I think that there were like 3 moments of the episode, like almost amounting to 10 or 15 minutes, showing these dragons inside of the storm, not being able to see one another or where they were headed at. And I think that it could have been resolved in just 2 or 3 minutes, tops, not more than that. And I think that they continued in this thing of keeping them inside of this fogginess and all of that, just for the sake of making the costs more bearable for HBO when it comes to the special effects, the VFX. So this is something that bothered me. This is something that really bothered me. And then in the moment that they really show a showdown between the two dragons, John's dragon and the Night King's dragon, really now we're really seeing better what's really going down. It's still under this looming fogginess. So I don't understand, like, onto it. So if you're going to show it because you know that the fans are expecting such a thing, so do it in its bestest form, without the fogginess, in the open field, in the open air, so we can see it with all, you know, the richness of details and of effects. So these were the things that really bothered me in this episode. So I think that here, how they managed these aspects of the episode were really a no-brainer kind of a thing, and it produced some kind of distrust to how they're gonna handle the other 3 episodes. I don't know. And then we had the death of Lyanna Mormont. Derek Dondarrion also was killed, and then we have the Night King's death. So the Night King's death. So Arya was the one that really got it accomplished, and I'm going to talk about Arya in a few minutes from now. So I'm leaving the second bestest thing for the end of the video. So I think that it really makes sense that he was killed in front of the God's Wood and in this sacred place, because it was in front of a God's Wood as well that he was created. And D&D said that that specific point a little bit upper his belly, where Arya flinched, her blade was the same place where the children of the forest, plays the Dragonstone is where Daenerys was born. Oh my goodness, we have Valyrian still, and we have the dragon still. No, the dragon, I don't know, but what I remember is the place where he was inflicted with that fatal blow given by Arya is basically the same where he received the first blow thousands of years ago that turned him into what he basically is now, the Night King. So it all comes a full circle. So he's there beside the God's Wood, in something, I don't know, with magical powers, with the like magical properties to kill and to uncreate, like to create a White Walker was also there. There was the knife that Arya used to kill him. So I really like this whole setup. The thing that I wanted to comment on, on his death is it seems very early in the season, because I think that this is a good conventional traditional type of complaint that I'm on board with it. So the first ever scene of the show is the White Walkers back on season 1, and they are causing havoc, killing some of the patrollers from the Night's Watch. And then we are being like we kept being reminded of winter is coming and of this approaching threat for 7 seasons and a half, and now everything is concluded, and the Great War was sold out as being like this most amazing and threatening and unpredictable and never seen before kind of event, not only television wise, but like diegetically as well in the story. And then in just one episode, it was a longer one, 1 hour and 22 minutes, all is gone. Everything that they took 7 years and a half to build was just undone so rapidly. So we really expected like the Night King to reach the doors of King's Landing, and it didn't happen, at least in his final form, in a humanoid form. I don't know, maybe they might have a plot twist, and that's what leaves me with the feeling that was not the last time that we saw the Night King. And there is a theory that I'm really rooting for. I think that it really makes sense. Is that actually I saw it. I'll try to remember. So there is that time on the 3rd or 4th season. Okay, Craster's baby. I think it was on the 2nd season. So how Craster's baby became a White Walker? He was touched by the Night King. How Viserion, the dead Viserion, became some sort of White Walker or white kind of a dragon because he was touched by the Night King. So how Bran could become the new Night King, or some form or recollection of what the Night King is and what the Night King wants. Remember, he was also touched by the Night King. So I don't know. That could well be, I don't know, maybe in that moment, in the God's Wood, in that sacred place, and we see that the show really made the effort. It really made us linger on there. We know that there was that slowing down of the action being played out, but it was too much at certain times. We know that was for visuals, for visual purposes only, to make us to be immersed in that moment, that there would be the fatal blow into the Night King. But I think that there might be more into it, in the sense that, no, by being now like in the same place, not in a vision like how it was the first time that he touched Bran, but now being physically in the same space setting as Ben, and he kept like really staring at Bran's eyes, and Bran staring back at his. He downloaded like who he is into Bran's. I don't know. I think that now that he was like in front of Bran, I don't know why I'm saying Ben. He transferred himself into Bran's. I don't know. I think that that's not the final stroke of a letter when it comes to the the White Walker's cause into ripping off the entire land from the living. And I wouldn't be very surprised that was the end. I really like this theory about the touching kind of a thing. And there is something else. I saw many people saying that they expected to see like the first conversation ever between the Night King and some other person. In the case, it would be Bran. And it didn't happen. And then I kept thinking something. So Bran, since he arrived at Winterfell, he has been this very abnormal kind of guy, not very human-like or human talkative. Like he's very like when it comes to what he's about to say, he's very economic. Like he's very like he spares words. He's not very forward. He says what he thinks that it's enough, and I don't know. So and he has said many times that he's no human. He's human no longer. He's not Brandon Stark anymore. So I don't know, and we see, but at least from what we know, like the Night King is not very talkative at all. He's a very silent kind of guy. So I don't know, am I doing the right connection here? Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I would be surprised that a plot that they took such a long time to build would be so wasted or so readily dismissed just because of the sake of sparing the budget or cutting the budget as much as possible for the final 3 episodes because they're spending so much. So I don't know. These are my thoughts. And you know, like I said, I don't think that this episode was about, although we can relate like light with good and darkness with evil, but I don't think that this episode was about good and evil. I think that was about light and dark as neutral types of things in nature, and that's why the Lord of Light played such an important feature in this episode, eating the living through Melisandre, and then we discover that Arya, that she has everything to do with the God of Death, played the part of delivering the fatal blow into the Night King. So we see this duality, God of light, God of darkness, or God of death. And she said, and it was set up in previous episodes, she said that she was willing, she was looking forward to see this other face of death through the Night King's persona. And also she's nicked into Jon Snow at the Godswood 2 episodes before, I think, and he asked how she managed to do that, and she kind of joked, and how did you manage to survive a knife in the heart? So, and here it was set up again when one of the White Walkers there is that breeze that comes like on one of his sides, so it's giving us the clue, oh, she's very stealthy, and then she goes and she kills him. So it was set up, and they did a retcon of something that Melisandre said back in the 3rd season, that she would kill brown eyes and blue eyes and green eyes, and here they just remanaged the order of the eye types with brown eyes, green eyes, and blue eyes, but now was really giving the emphasis on the blue eyes part of the sentence. So it was all really well set up, and there was a break with the expectations. We thought that it would be John. It would be John's. It would be the fight that would define John's life, and it was not. It was Arya's, and it really reminds me of something that happened in the first season. We thought that Ned Stark would be this prominent figure, and it was not. It was his family. It was the other players in the quest for the Iron Throne. So I think that in this particular sense, Game of Thrones really respected its tactics, the ways that they have managed like main plots in the story in previous seasons and in previous years. So I really liked it. The thing is that the way that it was all resolved in this episode leaves things even more uncertain, even more uncertainty in the air for the next 3 episodes. So I don't know. It's really the end of the Night King and the White Walkers. It was really left there in the air. I don't know what is about to happen next. So guys, this was my my review of the 3rd episode, The Long Night, from Game of Thrones. So if you like this content, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, the notification bell, and I'm Charlie Austen for New York Movie Buff.